Because I could not stop for death. The speaker of Dickinson's poem meets personified death. Death is a gentleman who is riding in the horse carriage that picks up the speaker in the poem and takes the speaker on her journey to the afterlife. Death, in the form of a gentleman suitor, like a man who is going to marry, stops to pick up the speaker and takes her on a ride in his horse-drawn carriage. They move along at a pretty relaxed pace, and the speaker seems completely at ease with the gentleman. As they pass through the town, she sees children at the play, fields of grain, and then the setting sun. As dusk sets in, speaker gets a little chilly as she is completely underdressed, only wearing a thin silk shawl for a coat. Now they stopped at what will be her burial ground, marked with a small headstone. It is revealed that the speaker's ride with death took place centuries ago. But at the end of the poem, we can understand that. So she has been dead for a long time. But it seems like just yesterday when she first got the feeling that the horse heads, like those of the heads that drew the death carriage, pointed toward eternity, or in the other words, signaled the passage from life to death to an afterlife. So that is the summary. Now we can see the line by line explanation. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. So here the author personifies death, portrays him as a close friend or perhaps even a gentleman suitor. In the first stanza, she reveals that she welcomes death when she says, "He kindly stopped for me." The pleasant tone of the poem further suggests that the author is quite comfortable with death. The carriage ride is symbolic of the author's departure from life. She is in the carriage with death and immortality. So there, the third person or the third personified entity is immortality, along with this lady, the speaker, and death. Okay. Now we slowly draw. He knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. Now he takes her through, he means death. Okay, he takes her through the course of her life with a slow and patient ride, and she is also ready for that slow ride. Okay, she puts her labor and leisure away too. She has set down all she wanted to do in life and willingly entered the carriage with death and immortality. Now we pass the school where children strew at recess. In the ring, we pass the fields of grazing grain, we pass the setting sun. So they are driving in the carriage. They drive past the school where the children strove, implying that the author is generously given a few moments to remember her childhood. So here the school and the children signifies her early childhood or basically her childhood life. Okay, they then drive past the gazing grain, allowing the author to think back upon the prime of her life. So when they pass by the gazing grain, so it is the moment when she got enough time to think about her prime time during her life. Then they pass the setting sun, so it symbolizes the evening, that is the end of her life. This symbolizes the author's death. The sunset is beautiful and gentle, and the passing from life to eternity is portrayed as such. Or rather, he passed us, he, sun. Okay, sun passed us, the dew streak quivering and chill. For only gossamer, my gown, my tipple, and my tulle. So there is a sudden shift in tone. Until now, she was comfortable. In the last stanza, we can see they are moving in that carriage. They passed by the school. They saw the children, and then they saw the gazing grain, fields of gazing grain, and then later on they passed the setting sun. Just after this, we can see a sudden shift in tone. That is, now that the sun has set, the author realizes that she is quite cold and she shivers. So the coldness of death. Okay, then she becomes aware that she is underdressed. That is, prior to this moment of realization, the author felt quite comfortable with death and immortality. But after all, she was riding along with them in only her gossamer. That is a very thin dress. Gossamer means a very thin type of delicate material. Okay, and her tippet. only tule. That is, the only cloth that she has is a very thin gown or type of. She's dead, so it is like she has a very thin type of dress. Tippet means a long fur shawl or cloth. Okay, that we can wear around the neck and shoulders. And tulle is a soft, fine silk. So this tippet is made of this fine silk or cotton, which is used to make these veils and dresses. തിന്നായിട്ടുള്ള ക്ലോത്താണ് അവൾ ധരിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്, അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അവൾക്ക് അത്രയും തണുക്കുന്നത് എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ. Now we paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. So they paused before her new house, a swelling of the ground. So basically that is a grave. She claims that the roof was scarcely visible and the cornice in the ground. Cornice means an ornamental molding round the wall of a room just below the ceiling. അപ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ ആ ഒരു ഭാഗം ഗ്രൗണ്ടാണ്. ഓക്കെ, ആ വീടിൻ്റെ ഗ്രൗണ്ട് റൂഫൊക്കെ വരുന്നത് എവിടെയാണ്? ആ ഒരു എന്താണ്, അങ്ങനെയാണല്ലോ. ഇപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഗ്രേവ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ദ റൂഫ് വിൽ ബി ദ ഗ്രൗണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ. Since then, it's centuries and yet feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horse's head was towards eternity. So since that day, centuries have passed. Actually, the death happened many years, centuries before. That said, it feels as though less than a day has gone by since then, the day that the speaker realized that death's horse were headed in the direction of eternity. അപ്പോൾ ആ മരണപ്പെട്ട് അത് തൊട്ടിട്ട് എന്താണ്, ആ ഒരു എറ്റേണിറ്റിയാണ് ഹോഴ്സ് ഹെഡ് ഈസ് ടുവേർഡ്സ് എറ്റേണിറ്റി എന്ന റിയലൈസേഷൻ വന്നതിന് ശേഷം എത്രയോ സെഞ്ച്വറീസ് പാസ് ബൈ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് ദാറ്റ് ദ സ്പീക്കർ has been dead for many centuries. Okay, so that's the thing. Even though it took place many years before, many centuries before, she feels as if it happened just shorter than the day. Okay, so that is the line by line explanation of the poem.